As we breathe into this moment, we remember who we are. We remember that we are harmony. We remember that we are music. We remember that we are sound and we are children playing and laughing. We remember that we are love and that we are joy and that we are snow and that we are so much more. And so it is. We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And now we begin the ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which we acknowledge that all peoples and all faiths come for the one universal presence, which we call spirit. Our candle lighter this morning is Jessica. And so, let us begin. The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The last candle is the healing candle of love. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. Now that our flames of faith are fully lighted, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. And so it is. This is the first Sunday, and so we recite our purpose, vision, and mission. Our purpose, our reason for being. We awaken and inspire love and oneness. Our vision, what do we want to create? What do we want to become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. And our mission, how are we going to go about doing this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Our inspirational quote today comes from Science of Mind, paragraph 384, sentence 4. We should not look forward to a hereafter without activity, but to a place where our work will be done in greater harmony with the divine law because of greater understanding. And so it is.
A Noviate Buddhist student asked his master one day, "What did you do before enlightenment?" And the master thought for a minute and he said, "I chopped wood and carried water." And the Noviate asked, "What do you do now that you have achieved enlightenment?" And the master smiled and said, "I chop wood and carry water." Now that simple story can be interpreted different ways and can have some different meanings. But the meaning that I'm assigning to it today is that we can find connection with our higher power, whatever it is you feel it is, whatever you believe, with your connection with your higher power, we can find that connection in the simplest everyday tasks. And it all depends on our attitude. It depends on how we look at it. So it becomes in the eye of the beholder. Well, welcome everyone this morning. It's great to see so many out here on this slippery, snowy, real first day of winter. I think it's here to stay this time. It feels it's here. Thank you very much for coming, and particularly on the day when we step away from daylight savings time. And I know I'm not supposed to be political up here, but who in the world but the Congress of the United States would be so brilliant as to figure out that they could cut the top 12 inches off of their blanket and sew it on the bottom and really believe that they've got a longer blanket? Only in Washington, I guess. The theme for this month, right out of this magazine, I'm being a good boy, I'm following all the themes. The theme is the mundane, the sacred, and the profane. And so today we're going to talk about the mundane. And the title of my talk is The Eye of the Beholder. The three major points I'm going to talk about: 1, pay attention to the small things. Number 2, pay attention to this very moment, the moment that you're in. And number 3, you are important. Brother Lawrence was a 17th century Carmelite friar. He never rose above the level of friar. He didn't want to be a priest. He didn't want to advance in that way. But he was a magnificent teacher. And a guy by the name of Joseph de Beaufort compiled a whole bunch of Brother Lawrence's teachings and put them together into a book, and the title of what was The Practice of the Presence of God. And boiled all the way down, Brother Lawrence found that his connection to the divine in ordinary tasks. That's how he touched God, was in ordinary tasks. And so he, around the monastery, he did the laundry, he did the cooking, washing dishes, and his big thing was repairing sandals. But he felt his closeness to God in those simple tasks. Alan Morinus wrote in Everyday Holiness, "When you choose to see the glory that lies within even the obvious and the mundane, then that fly on the window or the simple cloud in the sky or the hand in your hand is as much an invitation to awe as the Grand Canyon or the pyramids." The daily guides for November in the magazine, one of the reasons I love this so much is they're all stories. And boy, that's my wheelhouse. That's where I'm happy. And I don't know where this story came from. I just came up with it. But there was a photographer, and he belonged to a photography club. And in my mind, I don't know if this is true or not, but in my mind, it's right here in Anchorage. And these photographers would all get together, and they had a phone tree when there would be an event or something, and then they'd all go out and get pictures of it. And the things that I can think of are things like that eagle that lives out in Potter's Marsh. And, the eagle's out, and they'd all rush down with their tripods and big fancy cameras and get pictures of the eagle. And one I have experienced, I wasn't taking pictures, but a moose out on Postmark Drive out by the airport. Oh my goodness, the most magnificent bull moose and a big strong cow and a little this spring's calf. So we had this little moose family walking out there, and all of the photographers had these expensive lenses and photographic equipment and everything. And this one particular man, he won so many awards for his pictures and stuff, and he'd go to these events. But none of the people who went there could figure out, where did he get that picture? I didn't see that. What was that? And that's because he would go and he would look at the scene, what it was that everybody was getting with their deal, and then he would turn 180 degrees and he would look for the small things. He would look for the little tiny things and he would photograph those. And I think sometimes there's a lot of beautiful in those all tiny, small things. One of my stickies in this month's magazine, out of the Elizabeth Canty article in this month's magazine. We have been trained since birth to look outside ourselves for good, for God, for joy. Our parents, teachers, coaches, and culture constantly directs us to attain, to acquire, to compete, to win, and to achieve. The underlying promise is that when we acquire, we will finally have happiness and joy and satisfaction. We will be comfortable in our life and know who we are. What we find is that our enjoyment of the results is almost unbearably brief compared to our self-imposed struggle. We constantly need another fix, one more goal, one more achievement, one more acquisition. When we tune out the self-talk and busyness and turn inward, we might just realize that joy, the love, and peace are already within us. The true essence of who and what we really are. Pay attention to the small things. Point number 2 is pay attention to this moment. Gentleman recently bought a knife on Amazon, kitchen knife, just a regular kitchen knife, bought it on Amazon. And as he was reading the reviews of this knife, there was a review in there that said, "Oh, whatever you do, don't buy this knife. It's too sharp. That knife cut me." And he thought, well, I guess we'll ignore that. And he went ahead and bought the knife in spite of the warning. Well, he'd had it a week or so, and one day he was washing his cutlery and he was drying off his knife, and sure enough, what did he do? He cut himself. Now, you've heard me. I've said so many times from this pulpit, be aware of what you're thinking, and the universe doesn't understand or know not. It only knows yes. So if you're thinking about getting cut, Ed's going to provide it. And sure enough, he manifested a cut in his finger. And as he sat there with the blood in his hand and thinking about it, he chuckled, and he realized the knife didn't cut him. He cut himself. And the reason that he did is he wasn't focused on the task at hand. His mind was out, whatever you call it, gathering wool. His mind was not there. He wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, and sure enough, he cut himself. We can go back to Elizabeth Canty again. Being happy, loving, joyful, and peaceful means being right where you are, with whomever you are with. It means that we see the good and God in everything. We don't have to hide in a cave in the Himalayas or go out and change anything. The joy and the peace in life is expressing right where we are. It's already in you. It's already there. Third point is you are important. This story is about a mountain lion. And one day there was a big fire in the forest, and all of the animals began to run away from this fire, and the mountain lion, big, strong cat of the forest, ran. And as he ran, he noticed this little tiny hummingbird zoom, past him the other way, headed straight toward the fire. And I thought, whoa, he's not going to last long. And he kept running. And then a few minutes later, zoom, going back away from the fire again was this little hummingbird. And so he thought, that's really strange. Then a minute later, back toward the fire came the hummingbird. And a few minutes later, away comes the hummingbird again, running away from the fire. And so when the hummingbird again returned, the mountain lion stopped and said, what are you doing, man? You're headed right into that fire again. He said, yes, I know. He said, well, what are you doing? And he said, well, I can pick up a few drops of water and hold them in my beak, and I run toward the flames and I empty it out on the flames. The mountain lion said, you're not going to put out that fire, man. He said, that fire's way, way bigger, and you're only getting a couple drops. You're wasting your time, and you're really risking your life. And the little hummingbird said, I know. But he said, this forest is my home. This forest is where I grew up. This forest is where I've raised my family. I love this forest, and I must do something to try and protect it. And with that, the forest gods heard his statement of belief and his faith, and they decided to send down some rain and put out the fire. It's the small things, and you are important, even if you are just a hummingbird. The infinite knows, and the infinite can see your passion and your truth. One last time for Elizabeth Canty. Don't deny or try to shut off who you are. It's hard for people to hear and understand that we don't need to change. Ego and arrogance think that God created a mistake. How many times have I sat before you? I cannot think. Time after time I've told you, yeah, God made this perfect universe. Everything in the universe is absolutely perfect in every way except you. You are the one mistake of God. No. You are part of the perfection. But anyway, back to the quote. Ego and arrogance think that God created a mistake, but we are created uniquely. We are all special. Honor your feelings, your emotions, the way you see things. You're amazing and spirit created. That is no accident. Think about what happens when you look at babies. You know that they are enough. They're just being. No one teaches us to go back to that innocence, to not comparing, not competing. We're here to uniquely create our lives, and as soon as we compare, we think we're either not enough or our egos think that we are better. We are sourced by Spirit. Spirit is for us, so nothing can be against us. Conclusion, what I want you to take away today. When we rise out of our conditioning, we can look around with clear eyes, clear minds, and see what truly is. But just like climbing a tree or a mountain, to gain a higher perspective, it takes effort. Old tracks of labeling things as mundane, worldly, and unimportant will keep us bogged down in the fog of mind, always seeing the grass as greener over there. It will keep us focused somewhere other than where we are. If we reorient ourselves to view everything we do as a meditation, we can begin to let go of the wandering, worrying monkey mind and let our attention gently rest right where we are. So at home this week, I urge you to set a reminder during the day. Just put it on your phone some random times throughout the day. to practice coming to center and just being with whatever it is you are doing. It may be standing in line at the store, sitting in traffic, taking out the garbage, or some other mundane task. Flip your thinking and say, this is the most important and sacred moment of my day, right here, right now. I know the oneness is right here, and I choose to notice it. Practice being here now. And so with awareness of our own nature of perfection, I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in recognizing that there is indeed a power in the universe, one magnificent power that goes by many, many names, but that power is present at every moment in time and at every point in space and is within each and every one of us. And so as we go through this thing called life, and we encounter all of these things that seem so very undivine, so very different than what we believe to be good and true, we can know that behind it all, there is that which is perfect. And that perfection is greater than any effect that we encounter in the world. It's greater than war. It's greater than separation. It's greater than anything because it is God. It is greater than illness. It is greater than disease. It is greater than a broken leg or mental illness because it is God. It is God within each and every one of us. It is greater than lack and limitation because we know that this infinite universe created by God is abundant and prosperous in every direction. We open ourselves up to receive perfect health, prosperity, abundance, love, and connection to our higher power in even the simplest of everyday tasks. And so we just give thanks. We give thanks now. We let it go. We let it be. And so it is. Amen.